Thomas Edison said that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration, but oh man, that sounds exhausting. Like, who would ever want to work that hard for anything? What could possibly be worth that? In 1978, one toy company took the opposite approach, and while you and I can sit here all day long and argue about the degree of success they did or did not have, the details of what was legal and whether it amounts to infringement or not, no one can argue that they sure did do something, and it didn't take a whole lot of effort. Checkmate, geniuses. Hi, I'm Dan Larson, and this is Arco Toys Space War. Star Wars, the original one, the one that like for 20 years was just called Star Wars, hit theaters in May of 1977. Several companies had the chance to make toys for the blockbuster hit, but here's the thing, they had to decide before the movie came out, before it was a blockbuster hit, whether or not they wanted to invest in it. Mattel passed, Mego passed, Kenner Toys picked up the license, but it takes time to properly put together an action figure line, and the timing just wasn't gonna work out for a Christmas 1977 release. The inability to get a line of toys to the shelves fast enough opened the door for others to capitalize on the growing demand for intergalactic war-themed toys with whatever products they could squeeze out. Anything they could produce quickly, cheaply, that might entice a buyer to part with a buck or two while they impatiently waited for the real thing to arrive. Arco Toys was just such a company, known for, well, they weren't really known for anything at the time, per se. Not like today, where everyone knows them as the makers of the vintage GoBots cap rifle with roboscope and Centurion's Wild Weasel bicycle squeeze horn. In 1978, Arco Toys released a line of figures called Play Kid that, to a modern eye, seemed like a knockoff of Playmobil. Roughly the same size, much lower quality, similar but cheaper, much more fragile plastic. Much more fragile plastic. It didn't sound right the first time. And then it sounded exactly the same the second time. It really did. Slightly different articulation that one could argue actually had more play value than either a Playmobil figure or a vintage Kenner Star Wars figure. Where Playmobil figures had neck, shoulders, and a waist, Kenner Star Wars figures had neck, shoulders, and hips. Play Kid figures had all of those joints, plus knees and elbows. There were farmers, space explorers, cowboys, and, you know, since the machines were running anyway, why not throw a Black Knight, an ape-man creature, a couple of robots, and a white robo-soldier guy? Star Wars is such a generic title, it's hard to believe that Lucasfilm would even bother trademarking it in the first place. Arco picked an equally generic title, Space War, that could have easily been the actual title for the blockbuster film in the first place. It's hard to look at any of these 6 Space War figures and call them by their proper household names. No one could honestly mistake that ape man for Chewbacca or the astronaut for Luke Skywalker. A gold robot does not a C-3PO make. In fact, taken independent of one another, it's hard to even call it a Star Wars knockoff of any kind, since no attempt is honestly being made to suggest that these characters are the ones from the film. Space War figure packaging features simple card art, branding, and the bubbled figure. There's nothing on the back, no inventory of what's available in the line, no character names, and they are incredibly difficult to find loose and complete, and nearly impossible to find carded. They cost less than $1 at the time and were sold at what today would be referred to as dollar stores. Not the kind of place you go if you're looking to find high-end collectibles in any era. And people didn't collect action figures back then the way they do today. Not a lot of people putting away 3 copies of carded Arco figures to keep, display, and sell down the road. The thought that any of these would have survived since the 70s has to be credited to their association with Star Wars. Were Space War figures a Playmobil knockoff? Were they a Star Wars knockoff? I mean, yeah, they are certainly one of the earliest Star Wars-inspired, non-licensed piggybackers to field a product. Technically, nothing they are doing is bootleg or knockoff, but without a doubt, absolutely an oddity. Thanks for watching. Please hit like, hit subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Thank you very much to those of you who already are. If you're in the position to help the channel grow, visit our Patreon at patreon.com/toygalaxy. Please share this video and let us know in the comments down below if you've ever heard of, seen, or if you own a Space War figure. I'd ask for a reason why you don't own one, but it's pretty obvious from the title of this video. There we go.